Hey everybody, so we are so excited to be back doing another episode for you guys, and today I picked the topic. We've been talking about it a lot. If you've been watching our coffee talks or you're in our membership, we've been talking about one certain thing a lot, right? It keeps coming up, and it's seeking the Lord, right? What does that mean? We hear people and have people all the time saying that I've never heard from God. What does hearing from God, look like? What does, God's never spoke to me, so he must not love me, I must not be his favorite, right? But the Bible strictly instructs us that if we seek him, we will find him. Right? So sometimes the instance is you haven't heard from God because you ain't sought after him, right? You ain't tried to find him. So what does that mean, right? That is what me and Steve are going to talk about today. I actually got some scriptures that we will eventually get to and read. But what does seeking after the Lord look like? And I really wanted to talk about this with Steve because it looks different for everybody, and I think that that's something that we're not taking into consideration. We just think that seeking after the Lord looks one way, and it doesn't just look one way. It can look many different ways. So I really wanted to talk about that today. So what do you think about seeking the Lord? What is that to you, and what does that look like?
Seeking the Lord to me is many different things. It could be anything from getting in your Bible, reading, learning the stories, growing that connection, or, I guess kind of the Native American type thing is to be out in nature and realize that God's hands is what made, almost everything here. Well, not almost. He made everything. With the exception of, like building materials that man makes, but
no, God made everything. He provided a way for whoever to make whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you trace everything back, it will all go back to him. Everything.
But I'm talking about, like, for instance, our mountain right here in pretty much our backyard. That's God made.
Yeah.
Man couldn't have made that. These trees, even though I'd like to see some of them not where they are now.
You're not going to know that tree.
Those are made by God. God spoke them into existence, So, to me, seeking God is, getting that understanding of where these things come from and realizing that man had nothing to do with it.
I think it's also understanding that God is literally everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's everywhere. If you will take the time, so seeking after him, essentially it's learning. Because if you will start learning about things, if you will start reading books, listening to podcasts, reading your Bible, learning about things in life, you will realize how real God is. So one of my things, I love to study a bunch of different things, right? So if you're reading the Bible, for example, you can study names and places and figure out where these people come from. And all of a sudden you've read it and you were like, that didn't mean nothing to me. And then all of a sudden you study one word and you're like, oh my gosh, now it's to a completely different meaning and it spoke to you, right? And it didn't speak to you by jumping off the page or yelling at you that this is what it meant. It spoke to you because you took the time to dig deeper for it. So I learned something one time that I thought was super crazy, and now I can see God's hand in it all. I encourage you to study the human body. There are things that scientists can't even prove how it began in the human body, and DNA is one of them. DNA works so fast that and combines with each other and all of these just proteins and all kinds of things, and the way that it forms and clings together is almost a miracle in itself of how that even started, right? But then even your heart. Do you know that your heart actually has this sac around it? Now, don't take all my words for it because I'm not into all this anatomy stuff and whatnot, but it has this sac, and if you didn't have that sac around your heart would be so hot it would kill you. It's literally known as the deadliest organ in your body because if it didn't have that sac, you would die. Yeah. And how would God know to do that? You know what because he created you, because he designed you. He knew how your body was going to work. But would you know that, and would you be able to see God in that if you didn't take the effort to learn how it actually works, right? Another example is yesterday I was sitting outside in my swing, and this wasp it was a yellow jacket, just kept coming, and I was like, I done everything but christen that porch, okay? I did not want that bee to be there, okay? And I was like, Lord, I know you created all the bees. I started praying over it, like, but keep them off my porch. And me and Steve were talking about it today, and he was like, well, they create the pollen. And I was like,
no, they don't create the pollen.
No, they take the pollen.
They
transfer the pollen for the trees to grow. And I'm like, and I guess we need those trees, don't we, for oxygen. And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, why do you have to give them stingers? He said, well, they gotta have some way to defend themselves. I was like, well, I wasn't doing nothing when it came messing with me, And we were picking about it, but just like that, something we hate. Emma said it today. I hate bees. I said, me too. But we wouldn't have a way to breathe because the trees couldn't live if they didn't exist, right? Only things like that. How did God know, that there needed to be bees for trees so that we had to,
He created us a perfect world.
Exactly. He knew exactly what we needed to have, but we digress.
Not only a perfect world, but he created perfect bodies that does these functions, like you was talking about the heart, the shivering when you're cold to warm your muscles up.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of things
that are just like miraculous, right? Yeah. And so amazing. And those things will speak to you.
Even that point of conception of a child.
Oh yeah, the spark of light. Yeah. Oh my goodness, yes. Like, if you are new here and you don't know what we're talking about, so when you conceive a baby, the moment that the sperm and the egg meet together, if you look at that under a microscope, there is a bright light. It's a flash of light. Literally happens inside of your body as a woman.
If that's not God, nothing.
Then nothing is, right? Like, oh my goodness. For real. But even in that, I mean, if you will seek, the Bible tells you you'll find, right? And most of the time you haven't found because you ain't looked. And you say, Kelsey, I read my Bible all the time. I read it, I hear it, whatever, but he still ain't talking to me. Well, I got a Bible verse for you about that, right? And it says, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. If you are just reading the Bible because you think you are going to find some miraculous answers to something in your life, then you're reading it for the wrong purpose, and he's not going to speak if you're not looking for the right reasons. Right? You gotta have a good heart posture. You gotta know why you are looking. Are you looking, because you are trying to, for some meticulous reason maybe that isn't right? Or are you doing it because you truly believe in God and you believe that he can solve whatever you are going through and he can deliver you from whatever you are dealing with today, that he can really take you, change you, and mold you and turn it into something else, whatever you are going through, right? Is that why you are seeking him? Or are you seeking him for some other reason? God don't always speak in a big loud voice. Sometimes it's just by learning a name, learning a nature.
I believe that if you show him that you have that desire to build that relationship with him, that he'll put that burning desire for you to seek him out.
Yes. For anybody who wanted to know what that Bible verse was, it was Jeremiah 29:13. Another one I wanted to read. I really want to get into like what it looks like for me to seek after God, and I kind of want to show how it's different between me and Steve. So I do want to get there. But first, another one of the Bible verses that I decided to pick out was Acts 17:27. God did this so that they would seek Him and perhaps reach out for Him and find Him, though He is not far away from any one of us. I really love that verse because He's near. He's near everybody. And it's like He's outside of your home waiting for you to come meet Him, right? Or waiting for you to invite Him in, right? But we have to take that initiative. You see, God gave us freedom. He gave us that free will. People don't understand that free will. They say, well, why is there evil in the world because we got free will? Well, why did we have to do that? Because if He didn't give us free will, then we would be a bunch of robots. There would just be responses. There would be, if this happened, this would happen. If this happened, this would happen. If this happened, this would happen. There would be nothing else. The world would be boring. There would be nothing. You wouldn't get to decide who you love and who you don't love, how you do things, how you don't. If there wasn't free will, there would be none of this that we have today, right? It would all look different. We would just be a bunch of robots, right? Doing the same things over and over and over again. Free will allows us to go out in life and live a purpose. Go out in life and do something, right? But because of that free will, we also have the choice, all right, to whether we're going to invite the Lord into our life or not, right? So you have to do that. If you would seek Him, right? And it said perhaps reach out for Him. So you go through something in life. You got it. You're at this standstill. He is standing outside of your door and He says, are you going to let me in? It's your free will. Are you going to? Are you going to decide that you want to seek after Him and find Him and hear from Him, right? Because He's not far away even when we feel like He is. Scripture tells us He's not, right? And Scripture is true. So He's always been there. He's been watching you. It's when did you invite Him in? Because that's when you'll start that's when you'll start hearing from Him.
Yeah.
Right? I loved that verse. And then I also loved Hebrews 11:6. And it said, and without faith, it is impossible to please God. Right? So you can't please God without faith. Because anyone who comes to Him must believe that He exists. And that He rewards those who earnestly seek Him. So we're rewarded for seeking Him. And rewards, okay? We got a misconception with that word. That don't mean you're automatically, if you're seeking the Lord because you just want the rewards from it, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Don't expect to see from Him. He probably ain't going to speak at all, right? But if you're looking to Him because you need a Savior, because you need somebody to deliver you from this bad situation that you got yourself into, right? You're going to find Him. Because He's, again, that's a heart posture. You have to come to Him and seek Him and know He is real. And know He exists.
And it's sad, but a lot of people don't even call out to Him unless they're facing troubles.
Right. And it's not when they call out to Him, it's not a, Lord, deliver me from this. It's not a, Lord, you do your will. I don't know how the deliverance is going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. It's a, Lord, why are you not providing the money? Yeah. Lord, why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? And instead of coming to Him and asking and telling, I trust you with this. I know you can handle this better than I can handle this. You're essentially telling Him what to do.
Goes kind of back to that free will thing, but when He don't answer in the way that you want Him to, a lot of people will start to run from Him, and they'll get back into the world, and next thing you know, they've backslidden. But if you seek Him, have that relationship with Him, talk with Him, look for Him in everything,
Yeah.
It puts that burning desire in your heart, and He'll put things on it. Like several years ago, I had this. It was around this time of year, actually, right around Easter. But it was back when I was preaching, and I just kept wondering who started Easter. And next thing you know, I had this burning desire to find out. And, you know, it's kind of like I was telling you about earlier today. You know, I learned a lot from it. But, you know, I learned a lot about how a lot of Christian holidays were put into place. And it's not necessarily the way most people think. But,
right.
you know, it was that desire to learn and to answer questions.
Right.
Is also, on my heart.
Yes, that God put on your heart. Yes. And see, sometimes when God puts things on our hearts, we ignore it. Yeah. Right? Like, I mean, just sometimes He'll tell you to do something and you're just like, no.
Yeah. Yes, that comfort zone thing.
Yeah, that we talked about last time, yeah. And you're like, no, I couldn't stop that, right? But He'll leave that burning desire there. Like, for me, recently, I have no idea why, but you can ask Steve, and I told y'all in one coffee talk, been really into apologetics, right? So I've been really into studying those things.
Well, that's kind of explainable. I mean, you have so many people on those coffee talks that come against you and throw up different things. You got this desire to learn so you can stop them in their tracks.
Right.
Without, you know, having to have them booted off and blocked or whatever.
I think really, though, that it's more of along the lines of, like, I want to get people thinking. Because if I can get you, you are, you know, I'm presented with this person, so to say, and they're stuck in their ways. God isn't real. If I can present you with evidence that what you think is wrong, I don't even got to prove to you God's real. All I got to do is make you question what you came here and said.
If you can get a desire in their mind to
want to find the truth.
Want to find the truth, yeah.
And then they will. And I think that's the reason, because I really love answering the hard questions. Again, on a coffee talk, I talked about how before I got my Homeland Security degree and thought I was going to be this big old law enforcement world, I ended up I thought I was going to be a lawyer. Like, when I graduated school, that's what I thought I was going to be. And I think it's so funny that the desires that He gave me, even though I'm none of those things, it almost like gave me the fire for what I was going to need today, because I can use those characteristics of myself to do what I do now. You know what I mean? Which is really cool. I love how God be doing stuff like that. But
it's amazing when you look back on your life and you realize that, you know, a lot of things you went through may have been hard and tough at the time, but they were all set in place to make you the person you are today.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I was reading a book, and it talked about, it was the book I was reading today, and it talked about how, it was talking about pain and suffering, which I think I'm going to do like a whole YouTube video and everything I learned on that, so stay tuned for that. But it was talking about, you know, somebody asking, well, why did my daughter, it was this man, and his daughter had gotten sick, right? But he was a really rich person, okay? So he ended up donating $100,000 to find a cure for this, because his daughter had it, right? Well, guess what? If they found that cure, it didn't just heal his daughter.
Yeah.
It was going to heal all these people. So maybe, you know, and we're not saying because we don't know, we're not God, but maybe she had to get sick because he was just the person that could fund to find the cure.
Yep.
And if we would just start looking at pain like that, you know, I definitely teach my kids to look at pain like that because my kids have had a hard life. My kids lost their dad, right? But without a good outlook on life, this is either going to make them or break them. So without a good outlook on life at what God can do through our pain and suffering, then they could end up somewhere else. But I mean, that even goes for me too. If I wouldn't have had to went through what I went through, I would never be where I am today, and you wouldn't be my husband today, right? Like, I had to go through things because I was the person for that job, and if that would have never happened in my life, then this would have never happened. It is an effect. You know what I mean? It's an effect. And you say, you know, well, why do kids have to die? Well, maybe you are just the person that now spreads the awareness, that now brings attention to this. Like, you have no idea what role you play in your pain and suffering. And we just take that too lightly, but that'll be a whole nother video for a whole nother thing. Seeking the Lord, you guys, is if you seek Him, you will find Him. I wanted to talk a little bit about, what does that look like for me? People talk about it a lot, seeking the Lord. For me, it is in music. Okay, listening to my worship music. It's closing my eyes and just talking to the Lord. It is pulling out my Bible and reading it. It is reading books and commentaries that teach me more and more and more. To me, I feel like seeking the Lord is a hunger to learn. A hunger to learn, come together with fellowship, prayer. All of those things are things that is seeking the Lord. So I think seeking after the Lord can take a bunch of different forms. I think it can be prayer, reading your Bible journaling like we do, listening to music, going to church, right? That's seeking after the Lord. That is going to church, going to small group, going to Bible study. It's the things in your life that you can implement God into. And newsflash, that's every aspect of your life is seeking after Him. Like, even if you fast, you're seeking after Him, as long as you're doing it with the right heart and you're doing it to seek after Him. So a lot of you know that I'm on the journey of healthier. I don't know. We're not losing weight over here. That ain't the goal. It is just to simply feel better, not be as tired, eat better, all that. Learn what my body needs and actually give it to it. And being on that journey, I'm on that journey because I want to be better. I want to be better so that I can do better work for the Lord. And even in my seeking after Him in those areas, I'll be honest with you, ever since I started seeking after Him in a different area, I feel like I've been come up against by the enemy the whole time, And it's not even with, like not being able to do it. I've been killing it, friends. Like, I've been doing really good about eating. We've been going to the grocery store. Ask Steve. I've been Martha Stewart up in that kitchen, okay? Like, cooking all the things. All right, I have been doing it, okay, and I've been doing it. I'll be still drinking Mountain Dew, but I've been doing it, right? And I'm proud of myself because I'm like, man, I've been going to bed. I've been sleeping at least 7 hours every night. I've been eating right. And do you know, though, even though I know I've done great, and the Lord's like, He's cheering me on. You're doing wonderful. I'm over here. I don't feel like I'm doing great. The enemy has me over here questioning other things in my life and thinking that I'm not doing enough or not being enough or maybe I'm not walking where I'm supposed to walk. He's trying to blind my sight of seeking God, right? Because I'm trying to seek after Him. So I think I'm telling you all this to tell you, when you're seeking after Him, sometimes it's not immediate. And honestly, sometimes you got to fight for it. I do believe that sometimes you got to fight for it.
Sometimes you can see God in other people. Mm-hmm. Like, you sit and look into somebody's eyes, and you see that reflection of God. I was just sitting here doing that with you.
I know you would not. Be quiet.
To get to my point is, in everything you do, you should make sure that somebody sees God through you. Mm-hmm. I was telling Kelsey earlier about the thing I heard on Caleb the other day. The DJ was talking about how his little son loved to play soccer. All he thought about was soccer. And he finally got old enough to play, and went through the practices and stuff and done great. But when it come to game time, he just froze up and wouldn't take the field. But the DJ was talking to some people, that called in people, and I think it helped him figure out that it was because his other son, the older son, did so good at soccer and everything he did that the little boy, the little one that had just got old enough to play, wanted to be like his brother so bad, but he was nervous that he wouldn't be good enough, He figured out that he had to explain to his son that, in everything you do it your best, do it to where people see God in you, and don't worry about what happens, just make sure that it's like a ministry. Just show God in everything you do.
Yep.
And I thought that was so awesome, so many times in my life, I remember being so nervous to do different things. Well, preaching, I'm very quiet,
Obviously.
very shy person, but it took a lot for me to get behind the pulpit the first time, and I was always a whole lot more comfortable at the radio station than I was at a church with people staring back at me. But it would have been so awesome to have had that thought. Make it about somebody seeing God through you or Jesus through you. And went into it with that mindset. I think that would have eased some of the nervousness.
Yeah, and I think too, we try to make things about us,
yeah.
which was what that little boy was doing without realizing it.
Yeah.
Making it, I'm not good enough. It's about me now. I'm not good enough. I can't get out there. I can't ever be as good as him, so I'm not going to do it anyway. We turned it into a me, and really, it should have been.
That's a natural human response, though.
And we have to work on defeating that, because if he would have turned it around, it's not about me. It's about showing people the Lord through me. Then it completely changes the perspective, and you completely look at it so much differently. And now it's no longer I'm so scared. It's I might be a little bit scared still, but I'm not going to go out here because people need to know the Lord, It's like me doing that first coffee talk. I did not want to do it. I was like, no. This is not for me. And then I started doing them, and now I couldn't imagine not doing them, right?
Yeah.
Because
I remember you were so nervous about that first TikTok
I was just
video.
shaking. I wish I could see me right now. I'd be like, oh, God, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it took hours to talk to you.
It did. That's funny. It really did. But, sorry, I'm drinking my KFC Mountain Dew. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Charity. You're right. But, seeking after the Lord, right? For me, like I said, it looks like reading my Bible, studying commentary, listening to sermons, I should say. I do that on a podcast. Going to the bookstore, buying new books to learn more, learning, and just learning and learning and learning. That is what seeking is to me. It's being able to see God in all the things around me.
It's kind of like we was laughing, Charity give you that big long list of stuff to go to the store and buy. You should have seen me and her seeking out chia pet seeds.
They're chia seeds.
Chia pet seeds, all the same thing. But,
let's just say everybody in Walmart was laughing.
I'd never heard of them. I mean, I seen the little chia pets that you grow the hair on them.
Oh, my.
But I didn't know there was anything in the grocery store like that. But we seeked them out and we found them.
Yeah, we did. But we would have never found it. And we wasn't stopping either. I was on the Walmart app. I was like, we're finding these seeds. And then the Walmart app will tell you what aisle it's on. And
I can tell you.
Oh my gosh, I got a whole word. I got a whole word now. But yes, I looked it up. I said, honey, it says they on this aisle. And we went up and down that aisle that it was on for 20 minutes, I tell you, laughing. We were just giggling. Those people were like, what is wrong with them? They were all secretly whispering about us. And we were cackling. I mean, we thought it was so funny. And I was like, but if you click on what aisle, it'll point to what part, I was like, it says it's in the middle. And we go to the middle and we're just looking. And we finally found them. I was like, why is this such a big bag? Steve was like, I don't know. He said, what did he say?
I didn't look at the size of the bag. I looked at the size of the price.
That was epic too.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that looks like bird seed. He said, I want to plant it. I mean, like, we went through the whole emotions and it was so funny. But the point of the matter is, I was determined to get those chia seeds.
I bet you could add a little water.
Be quiet.
Paste them on some pottery, and then they grow.
Stop it. Stop it. We were determined to find those seeds. They had to go in my morning breakfast. We was determined to find them. So what did we do? We looked for all the information that could tell us where it was. We downloaded all the resources. We opened that resource. We found it, and we refused to leave until we had what we came to get. That is how you need to take your relationship with the Lord. You need to go in.
That's the same day we went to the eye doctor too, isn't it?
Yep.
And here I was, half blind, trying to read the word chia on a bag in Walmart on every aisle.
That's funny. But that is how you got to seek after the Lord, you guys. You got to show up and not leave until you find Him. Like, that is what happens. You need to show up and you need to say, I'm going to keep looking and I'm going to keep seeking. And if He don't talk to me today, He's going to talk to me tomorrow. And if He don't talk to me tomorrow, well, I'm going to keep going, and it might be next week. Maybe He needs to learn that I'm loyal. I'm going to keep showing up, right? It does not matter how long it takes Him to say something to you. If you'll keep looking and learning, and you won't leave, right, until you hear something. I promise you will. You can't just open your Bible and just be like, okay, Lord, tell me. I mean, He's going to look at you like, tell you what. You know, what you seeking after? You got to tell Him, right? He wants to hear you say it. And there's a story in the Bible, and some of it, I love it so much, and part of it was like, you ain't found because you ain't got because you ain't asked. You ain't heard from the Lord because you ain't asked Him to hear about God. You just expected Him to show up. You just thought that He would, but He's waiting on you to ask Him. He's waiting on you to talk to Him. And that's not saying it's got to be like that all the time, but sometimes He just needs a little bit of effort from you. You know what I mean? He needs to know that you're willing to fight the enemy. I told you, this week, I just felt like, I know that the Lord is still here. He's still been speaking through my learnings and my readings. But I just feel like, Lord, there's something I'm missing. And He still ain't told me what it is yet. He still ain't told me what it is. And I'm still, that ain't going to stop me, though. I'm going to keep going until He speaks, until He tells me. Because maybe He just needs to know that I'm determined to defeat the enemy. Right? Maybe that's what He needs to know. So, seeking after the Lord, I've told you what it looks like to me. But now I want you to understand that for Steve, seeking after the Lord looks a little bit different. Both times are learning, but I can promise you that I open my Bible, I think, a little bit more than my hubby do. But in his defense, bless his heart, he can't see. I bought him a magnifying glass. He's opened it up more since I bought a magnifying glass. But, so what does it look like for you? Seeking after the Lord, what does that look like in your life?
Well, I'm getting into the Word as much as I can. Listening to podcasts, preaching. I'm dedicated. This one old girl does these coffee talk.
Sometimes she be wondering if you listen, though.
Yeah, I listen.
Are you sure?
I'm always a listener.
Yeah, you just decide not to apply.
I apply when I think of something funny to say.
I'm kidding. But yeah, he goes to the bookstore with me. He does do that. Yeah. I don't know. His life seeking after the Lord just looks different than mine. So, and I tell you that because the way you seek after the Lord might be different than the way your friend or your spouse or somebody else in your life seeks after the Lord. Friends, when I first started seeking after the Lord, it was in a devotional that I read every day when I got up, right? And when me and Steve were seeking the Lord together before we got married, which I think y'all should be doing, seeking the Lord together. Me and Steve still do that, just when we first got together, we done it by devotionals. But now we just sit on the front porch and be having really good conversations, right? I'll be like, ooh, let me read you what I just read. And then we'll read it and then we'll talk about it. We done that today. And I was really like, man, I wish the mic was out here, because why couldn't we just, we could just record this. But we never have good conversations. right when we need to be in front of the microphone. I mean, these are good conversations, but today's was really good.
When we do get in front of the microphone, most of the time we got distractions.
Yeah, Emma isn't even here, you guys, and I had to pause the video because she called, or the thing, because she called me. It's like she's got a radar, and she just knows when we're busy, you know? But, you know, when we're outside, we usually get in these deep conversations because nobody is, you know, interrupting us and whatnot. But I still think our conversations on the podcast are really great, and they turn out really great. And hopefully they're helping you guys, because that's the main mission, is that they're helping you, and they're helping you understand, and they're helping you seek the Lord, and they're just helping you grow in your relationship with God, right? Because again, what I say, when I seeked after God, I've done it through podcast. I do it through learning and seeking and studying and just digging into His Word, right? So, seeking the Lord, it looks different for everybody. You say, Kelsey, I ain't heard from Him in a while. I need you to ask yourself if you've really been seeking Him or if you've just wanted one certain answer. When you seek the Lord, you need to be willing to hear whatever answer He wants to give. Not just the one you want to hear, right? Because you don't know what's best. Even if you think you do, you don't. Okay? You may think you do, but you don't. Okay? And when you have that total dependency on God to know, I don't know what's best, Lord, so I need you to tell me what's best. Right? I don't know what's best. I need you to show up and help me be my best. Right? When you start giving God that role of, Lord, I'm not asking you for a certain answer. I'm just asking you to show up in this situation. You'll start seeing Him so much more. Right? Don't seek and just need a certain answer. Seek to hear Him. Seek for comfort. Seek for His promises. Seek for those things. What are you looking at out that window? It's absolutely pitch dark out there.
My light's on.
You're very distracted. You're distracted. Okay. Sir, do you have anything else that you would like to say about seeking the Lord?
Well, not so much on seeking the Lord, but just for young Christians or young people in general. You know, sometimes you ask God for something, and sometimes the answer is not His will, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to take sometimes. While Kelsey was talking there just a minute ago, which got me to staring off, and I realized my garage was open, was a thought run through my head, you know, as most of you know, my mom was murdered 42 years ago last month. And I remember that night that it happened, you know, my dad picked us up, and we didn't really know the details as far as if she was alive or whatever. And we knew she had been shot, and we knew it was bad, but I remember praying that whole night. I mean, I don't know that I slept. Well, I don't know that I slept for a week afterwards, but I remember praying, Lord, please let my mama be okay. Just let me be able to see her in the morning, you know. Well, the next morning, my dad came in and got my brothers and sister all together, and he told us that, you know, she didn't make it. And that was a hard thing to accept, you know. I'd prayed so hard. Now, you know, when you pray that hard and you know, with tears streaming, and this, you feel like life is going to be over unless it's answered. You don't realize that, you know, maybe God's just setting things up for something else. And I realized, you know, the fact that I lost my mom at such a young age helped me when it came to Emma and Nathan. you know, I've lost a parent, and I know partially what they feel. I wasn't quite as young as they were, but I know how to handle those things, you know. It was a hard thing. Losing anybody is hard, but when you lose them to something like that, it's you know, it can affect your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But back to what I was getting to, you know, sometimes God's answer's different than what you want. Don't let it discourage you. Don't let it turn you away from Him. Because, you know,
it is all for a purpose.
Yeah, it's for a purpose.
Yep. And, you know, I don't know, you know, what you went through or how it was, you know, all the details are a little crazy, you know, about it and all that. But I do think, you know, like you said, it equipped you because one day you would have to raise two kids that didn't have a father. And you would know what that feels like to be a child and not have one of your parents. And I know that was the purpose for you, but I also want to say that there are so many other things connected to that connected their death that also had purpose, and you just don't know it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we won't know some of those things until we get to go be in heaven and God reveals those things to us and teaches us, and you know, He's like, it's all for this is what happened. And you're like, have y'all ever seen those movies, right, where it flashes back and it's like, recently I seen one, I don't know if y'all are 911 followers, surprise, that I watched that show, but it's 911, and his name's Buck, you know, on the show, and he got electrocuted, and he got hit by lightning, blah, blah, blah. But either way, he was on deathbed, right, in a coma, and he went to this other life, right? But in this other life, his parents, or his sister never left her mean husband. And because of that, he never became a firefighter. He never became a firefighter. All those people's lives that he was supposed to help, he wasn't there to help. And the captain, which his name's Bobby, Buck really helped him in his sobriety and whatnot. And well, he was still having sobriety issues because Buck never entered into the picture. You know what I mean? And as crazy as all that is, because it's just on a show, I honestly view life like that. I think that there are so many other things out here working that you don't even know about, that you don't even see, that you have no idea that if your life would have been altered in the slightest a bit of ways, right, something completely different would have happened. And that's not condoning our sin that we did when before we knew God. I just think that He knows, and because He does, how to take it and mold it and change it and be like, okay, here it is. This, if she makes all the right decisions, if she does all the things, this is what this is going to amount to. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now that she has came to me, if she will just listen from here on out, she'll do these things. I'm sure she'll fall short every once in a while, but if she'll just stay this course, you know, then everything's going to turn out real good. And, you know, I don't think we think about those things enough because, again, we're too me-centered. Well, that didn't work out for me. That didn't work out the way I thought it would. Me, I this, me that, right? But if we'll take a moment and we'll actually look at all the people around us, then we realize that it isn't all for nothing, right? It's all for something, even if you don't know what the something is.
It made me think of the lineage of Jesus, you know, as we was talking earlier. It's just in that lineage leading up to Jesus.
Yep.
Most of the sin is covered just in His genealogy.
Yep. Ain't that wild? I love that. Yes. If you don't know what we're talking about, go look up the genealogy of Jesus. It has so many sinful people in it. And the sin itself was in his genealogy, and he came to cover it. And it's wild. It's so wild. My friends, we're just called to be vessels, right? Vessels that get filled up by seeking the Lord, and vessels that pour out by pouring out our love unto people so that they can see Jesus in us, right? So that maybe they will become encouraged to get to know him and to start learning and seeking him and change their life, right? You got anything else for him?
No, I guess I'm good.
All right. Well, I hope you guys learned something about what it is to seek the Lord, how it looks different for everybody, and maybe it helped you in your life and in what you thought seeking the Lord looked like. No matter what your takeaway was, I hope this brought you courage. I hope this encouraged you, maybe even brought you the courage to stand up to something that you ain't stood up to yet, or even if it just brought you hope. And even if it gave you clarity. I hope you leave here today with something that you didn't know before you got here, right? We love you guys so big, and we'll see you next time for another episode. But it's still going to play... Y'all, my life, y'all, I told y'all I loved y'all, I told y'all bye, I told y'all all that, and then my mouse dies. So,
So we're on here for a while.
Cue the doo-doo-doo. And maybe I can edit this out, but I honestly have no idea. Why can't we just be professional podcast recorders? Why has this got to be so hard? Okay, let's see if it works. Nope, still not working.
Maybe the Lord's saying you ain't done.
Lord, what do you want to say? I cannot. Why?
In the next podcast.
What do you want to talk about?
Go ahead and record the next.
Go ahead and record the next one. What's our next topic then? You ain't gonna find no answer. No, that's what we're studying in the membership. You ain't gonna find no answers in that book. Look, if you're recognizing that the mouse is off, then let a girl use it. Got it to work. Oh my goodness. Okay. I love you guys so big. I hope y'all enjoyed that little clip of entertainment. Love you guys so big, and see you next time.